Hi there, my name is Victoria and I welcome you to my office and this channel where we together discuss universal laws and in particular how we can all practice love on a daily basis. And the content for today's video series is all about, how can we find what we love doing for work. As always, the structure of today's video series will be split into three parts. The first part being me telling you a little bit more about the facts of the subject matter for today's video series, as well as some universal laws that are at play. Part 2 will be all about the application of the universal laws and some practical tips in terms of practicing love on the subject of finding what you love doing for work. And part 3 will be just the wrap up, some concluding remarks, final departing thoughts, and I'm sure we will get into some of the decks during the course of today to see if there are any messages that come through from our angels, archangels, spirit guides and ancestors. And don't forget to grab a drink, whether that's a glass of water or a tea or coffee, whatever you might like. I've got with me some lovely tea. It is actually mulled wine tea. Yes, no alcohol, but it tastes just like mulled wine. It's delicious. So here's my cup on my cat, one of my favorite mugs that I'm going to enjoy for our discussion today. And I've wanted to start off, I suppose, with some facts about what's the inspiration for today's video series. And I've got this extra bit of a notebook in front of me, which I don't usually have, but it's a notebook that I've had for a really long time, mostly from about, January 2020. And in it, I usually set out or record any thoughts or ideas that I have as I'm reading some interesting books, whether they be in the self-help section or mind, body, spirit, spirituality, those sorts of things, or inspiring books that give you tools or some activities that you can undertake in order to just figure yourself out, whatever it is that might be relevant to you at a particular point in time. And I was pondering about the question of, what I love doing for work. And I recalled that there was one tool and activity that I did back in, I think it was about February 2020, just before COVID hit, that I really wanted to share with the audience here on this channel. And we will delve deeper into that in part 2 when we talk about the practicing love and what you can do to think love, speak love and do love, and use that tool to our advantage and our benefit. But this is where the inspiration has actually come from, is recalling this tool and then realizing that it's actually a tool that has assisted me on my journey to finding what is it that I really love doing and love doing for work purposes. And I've just noticed that when you walk around the streets at the moment, some people look like there's not much joy left in their life, and I do wonder if it's something to do with what they do. And it is very important for, I think, every single individual at regular points in that time to actually check in with themselves and figure out, am I still doing something that I enjoy and I love? Do I wake up in the morning and I can't wait to get on with the activities that I've gone on my to-do list for the day? Whatever you do for your income, your job with your employers, or you might be self-employed, do you truly love what you're doing? Or have you forgotten what you enjoy? Have you just become accustomed to doing whatever it is that you ought to do or you have to do, and you treat things on your daily list as chores that don't bring you much joy or happiness anymore? When you speak to other individuals, be that your family, friends, your loved ones, friends, colleagues, your clients, when you speak about your activity, when you speak about whatever it is that you're doing on a regular basis, on a daily basis for your work, do you get inspired by it? Is it uplifting? And does it energize you? Or do you feel like you don't even want to talk about it, for instance? That one option, right? You might really not want to be talking about it at all. Or when you do talk about it, do you try and summarize and finish the conversation as soon as you can? Does it bore you? Does it send you into feelings of sadness or regret or any kind of other low frequency emotions? Pay attention to those things, because it might get you to figure yourself out, whether you truly are actually enjoying and loving what you do for work or not. The universal laws that are at play when they popped into my head when considering the subject matter of loving what you do for work, the first one that comes to mind is all about literally the universal power number one in my world anyway, which is love, right? That amazing super energy, that force of love, and realizing that it's actually an indicator or a connector to try and give us some guidance as to what we enjoy doing. So if you feel love for what it is that you do, then it's very much most likely connected to what it is you're supposed to be doing at that particular period of your lifetime, and it even could give insight to you as to your ultimate, life purpose for this particular lifetime that you're in on planet Earth. And, the flip side of that is if you're finding yourself doing something you're not actually enjoying or not loving, well, perhaps you're no longer doing what you're meant to be doing in your life. And don't think about it as an absolute. I don't like thinking about things in absolutes, because life is all about fluidity and flexibility, and we go from one phase to another phase to another phase, and we move through various seasons of our life, right? And what we do and enjoy doing may change over time. That's normal, that's okay. But the key thing is actually aligning yourself with what you do as you move through those seasons in your life, right? And the feelings of love and joy are a great indicator. So I definitely suggest, listening to your heart. Putting your hand to your heart definitely helps in terms of finding out, being honest with yourself and truthful as to those sensations and feelings. And, connected to the universal law about, what's your purpose in life. I'm a big believer in that we all have effectively like a life path, or a soul journey, or some kind of plan that we have actually co-created, most likely before we even came into this lifetime and incarnation on this planet Earth. And I suspect what we do is we actually write in or code in or certainly send intention as to what we're meant to be doing at various seasons of our lifetime and into our plan as sort of a significant milestone, perhaps milestones. And though, as I mentioned, the sensations of love and enjoyment are actually indicators whether or not you are you're walking in alignment with your life journey and the plan that you have set out for yourself or not. I'm a big reader of Dolores Cannon's books, and in one of the videos that you can find on YouTube about her, she mentioned how we are effectively, a screenwriter, a director, producer, and actor of our own lives. So, the screenwriting and perhaps, the writing part of our life path was actually written perhaps before we even incarnated into this lifetime, right? And it is very possible that, we're acting it out as we're living through it. But obviously we've got the freedom of choice here, which is one of the universal laws, to actually shift things around and move things around in certain ways. And we do that literally on a daily basis through the choices that we make. But somehow, perhaps our higher self always gives us guidance and sends us signs through the universe to figure out, are you still on your life path? What you have concocted for yourself before you were even born. So that's an interesting thing to think about there. And one more thing that we can definitely discuss, which is related to the topics of universal laws that we just mentioned, and that's the fact that I believe that our DNA, the code that is within us all, which can be likened to, I suspect, the software that makes us run. And DNA is an actual physical thing as well, but inside of it, it's kind of like a code that makes us us, and it makes us unique. That coding, in terms of your interests and your likes and your preferences for the various stages and seasons of your life, I believe are deeply embedded into us, and it's all within our physical body, within our atoms, within our code that makes us us. And I am a big believer in reflecting on, seasons, previous seasons of your life, including, going back to when you were a child, when you were a kid, your teenager years, just reflecting a little bit on things that you used to enjoy back then. What were you drawn to? What did you naturally want to discover? What kind of activities did you do? What did you like? What did you dislike? What did you thoroughly enjoy? What did you hate or really dislike? And that's all part of our deeply embedded code that makes us us, right? So it sort of makes sense that there will be certain activities, certain tasks, certain preferences that we've always had within us, maybe even since we were born. We just never thought about it from that perspective, that actually there are some things that are just inherently us, that are inherently unique to us. Our preferences are our own, and perhaps some of those preferences can stick up with us for the rest of our lives, literally. So it's about, perhaps the task for us is to identify what those exactly are, and the how we're going to do about that is actually going to be part of the part 2 element of this video series, where we talk about practicing love and the application of the universal laws that we've just discussed. So click on the link down below in the description box, and I will see you in part 2 shortly.